Hey folks, Mark Levin here. Now, before we dive in today's episode, I want to talk about something truly valuable, protecting your financial future with gold. It's called diversification. Now, for that, I only trust Advantage Gold. They're the real deal with 5-star service and a sterling reputation. So give them a call today. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Trust me, you'll thank yourself in the future. Now let's get to the show. Results may vary. Consult with your financial professional.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. I want to thank Brian Mudd, sat in last night, right, Mr. Producer? Good man. WJNO, Florida. One of my home stations. Did a great job, I understand. Where was I? I was at Christians United for Israel, their annual meeting, KUF. And I was invited to participate, along with my wife, Julie, and my mother-in-law, Sylvia, and we went with Pastor John Hagee. I say John Hagee's my pastor because I admire him so much, and he's got a fantastic and massive church and parishioners down there in San Antonio, Texas. But this is a man who's so committed to his faith and so committed to the Jewish faith and the Jewish people in the state of Israel that he has amassed membership into KUFI, Christians United for Israel, over 10.5 million members. And you can go online and pick up some of this. It was just very, very important. There's a lot going on, and I have a couple of questions for you, America. Kamala Harris. Was Kamala Harris lying all these years? Was she lying all these years when she was giving answers to questions or making statements like a good Marxist Islamist? When she threw in with the hate America crowd? When she threw in with the hate Israel crowd? When she threw in with the no borders crowd, the defund the police crowd, the attack ICE and the Border Patrol crowd? Was she lying for the last decade or two, or is she lying now when she's trying to change all her positions on fracking, on defunding the police, and all the ones I just mentioned? Will the real Kamala Harris please sit the hell down? Who is she? She's making statements like she's not the vice president of the United States, like she has no role in this administration. I'm going to make the border stronger than Trump. Wait a minute, aren't you the vice president? Okay, we'll play along, but not for long. She's not the border czar. She was, but again, we'll play along right this second. Now, she was vice president of the United States. Isn't she still? She acts like she has nothing to do with this administration, the policies of this administration. She acts like her past isn't her past, it's somebody else's past. This is what happens when you have a lightweight, a radical, A weirdo, may I say? She's weird. A weirdo, a cackler, who's never had to fight to become the quote-unquote nominee of the Democrat Party, and she's the putative nominee, no question about that. So we all hang around. Ooh, who's she going to pick as vice president? Wait a minute. We already done talking about her being picked as the nominee in one of the most outrageous coups in American history, one of the most outrageous impositions of a candidate by a political party? We just went through a Soviet-style process. Move along, don't look back. She's it. She's the winner. She's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Now, you know I'm not into all these polls, but I looked at them. You would think with billions and billions of dollars of positive press in merely a week's time that she'd be slaughtering Donald Trump in the polls, but she's not. The last national poll I saw, Trump's 2 points ahead. And then they go to the states. Well, this state is this state is that. Okay, fine, whatever. And she'll get constant, positive billions and billions of in-kind, unreported contributions by the Democrat Party media. But again, that aside, she's not made any great movement. This time, in the summer, when Michael Dukakis and George H.W. Bush were running, Dukakis had a 17-point lead over George H.W. Bush. So these polls mean nothing right now, but they're using these polls to drive the propaganda. They want you to believe that the nation is rallying around Kamala Harris. The black community is rallying around Kamala Harris. The left is rallying around Kamala Harris. Well, there's an awful lot of rallying around going on, but I'm not seeing any great jump in the numbers. A little here and there, but nothing major. So the question to Kamala Harris is, were you lying before or are you lying now about who you are? And the answer is she's lying now. But that is an important question. They call it flip-flopping. I call it pathological lying. She's a pathological liar. And now they're spending tens of millions of dollars on ads to promote the pathological liar as a pathological liar. And she acts, as I said, like she's not the vice president of the United States. She's the number 2 in the Biden-Harris regime. She used to vouch for Biden's brilliance, remember? She supported his policies. And she acts like she hasn't been involved in making any decisions. Me, borders aren't, no, that's a Republican trick. They're always this way, the right-wing white supremacists. This is what they always do. And so, now she's going to pick a vice president. Will it be Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania? Now, that would really help her. She needs Pennsylvania. He's Jewish. Excuse me. I'm Jewish. I don't care how many Jewish people she has around her. Her husband, if it's Josh Shapiro, if it's Ernie Grabatsky, if it's Phil Goldberg. I don't really care. She's the most anti-Israel public figure next to Bernie Sanders, next to Tlaib Omar, AOC, in the United States of America. She has never denounced Bernie Sanders' positions. She has never denounced the Stooges, the Islamists, the Marxists in her party, the Hamas wing of her party. She's never denounced them. She's thrown in with them. She's so close to CARE, it's an ugly picture. CARE, a Hamas front group, and other groups that are front groups in the United States of America for Iran, for Hamas, and all the rest of the reprobates. But now we're told, but look, she's got a Jewish husband. That means he's a weirdo. May I say he's weird? Oh, she might pick Josh Shapiro. Now, that might hurt her with the River to the Sea crowd, which is a big part of the Democrat base, as you well know. But nonetheless, Josh Shapiro. She's got a Jewish husband, Jewish running mate. If it's him, wow, then all is forgiven. The way you treat Netanyahu is forgiven. The way you gave a speech supporting the protesters? Oh, the protesters. You mean the ones funded by Iran, Qatar, and Hamas? Oh, yes, them. It's all forgiven. The comments she made after she met with Netanyahu and stabbed him and the Israeli people in the... It's all forgiven. Don't forget her husband's Jewish. Oh, I forgot. And by the way, here's the good news. All this crap, who is she going to pick? She's going to pick somebody from one of these battleground states? Josh Shapiro. Rest of the country's going, who the hell is Josh Shapiro? He's been governor for about 4 minutes. Oh, he's a moderate. Oh, I love it when the media tell us who the moderates are, don't you? He's a nobody. He's a loser. He opposes school choice. Well, they say he supports it. Really? But that aside, ladies and gentlemen, it won't matter. History tells us people vote for the president. They don't vote for the vice president. George W. Bush picked Dick Cheney. Right? Nixon picked Agnew. We can go on and on down the list. It's not determinative of anything. So far, Kamala Harris, she's gone to friendly audiences. We have an official request into the White House to speak to her, don't we, Mr. Producer? We have an official request to do an interview with Kamala Harris. Now, if I'm her, I would racialize everything. I'd say, she won't talk to me because I'm Jewish, straight, and white. That's got to be the reason. No, because she's a coward. That's right. She's a coward. She doesn't want to be pinned down. When did she have a press conference? Never. She hasn't had one, I don't know, in how long? Has she? Has she sat down with anybody who's not a sycophant or a surrogate? She sat down with Lester Holt. He didn't ask tough questions. He asked real questions. He was very good. She came off like an idiot. Have you ever been to the border? No, but I haven't been to Europe either. Oh, okay, got it. A moron. Let me tell you something. She's a liar. She's either lying back then or lying today. Oh, I'm not. I'm for fracking. Oh, but we have you on video. Don't believe your eyes, Like Biden. Don't believe what you see. She's dumb, and she's a liar, and she pretends she's not part of the administration. When I become president, I'm going to secure that border. And by the way, you ought to take a look. I just posted the Heritage Foundation analysis, and there are many good analyses out there. The Senate border bill is a disaster for border security. The media will never tell you this. All they keep doing is using this as camouflage. But that bipartisan bill, it would have had more resources. It would have done this. It would have done that. They had like 3 talking points related to the bill. And Trump opposed it. I will sign it. So I'm not just talk. I'm action. Yeah, that's what you are. Would have done nothing to secure the border. Nothing. Includes more than $20.2 billion for border funding and hundreds of pages of border and immigration reforms. The key takeaway is that neither the funding nor the statutory reforms would truly secure the border, and border security is the only measure that Congress should use. And this is from people who know something about the border. Mark Morgan and Tom Homan, both of whom you know. With more than $7 billion for the Department of Homeland Security. It goes on and on and on. It codifies Biden's open border tools. That's what it does. Unacceptably codifies what Biden is doing. Codifies crisis levels of daily illegal immigration. Creates a 3-year border emergency authority to allow agents to expel illegal aliens back across the border during extraordinary migration instances. But the numerous exceptions and limitations swallow the authority in whole. Secretary of Homeland Security has the discretion to activate the authority after the U.S. Customs and Border, CBP, encounters an average of 4,000 illegal aliens daily for 7 consecutive days. Secretary activation of the emergency authority becomes mandatory after it encounters 5,000 daily for 7 consecutive days, or 8,501. Not counted in those numbers are unaccompanied children, parolees, Those who claim to fear persecution have already been in the U.S. for 14 days or already traveled beyond 100 miles from the southwest corner. Look, it's Swiss cheese. Not only that, it doesn't count the people that the administration is bringing into the country. 500,000, now probably closer to 1 million. The secretary would not be able to activate the authority for more than 270 days, 225 days, and 180 days in any calendar year. The bill then adds cumbersome and confusing calendar calculation requirements that further limit the secretary's use of the emergency authority. And the secretary and president can suspend the authority unilaterally. So it's nothing. It's nothing. And I want to thank the media for not reporting on this, because they've demonstrated once again what a bunch of slobs and thugs they actually are. Continuously allow these crisis-level numbers of illegal alien encounters means that border agents would remain overwhelmed, more illegal crossers will evade the agents, turning them into gotaways, bad actors would slip through the limited and rushed vetting. It goes on and on and on. And by the way, on my own, I can tell you that the so-called funding doesn't even take place till 2028. But if you only had signed the bill, the bipartisan bill, we'd have a secure border. I'm going to sign the bill. Trump wouldn't sign the bill. There needn't be any bill under Donald Trump. He'll close that damn border, and he doesn't need this. This would make it almost impossible for Donald Trump to secure the border. Almost impossible. So the bill is the opposite. It's like the Inflation Reduction Act that creates inflation. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, folks, we're living in unprecedented times, and September 18th could be a watershed moment. With President Trump's sentencing approaching, we're facing potential political upheaval, which could create some dangerous market and economic chaos. That's where gold and diversification come in. Gold has always been one of the ultimate safe havens in times of turmoil. And when it comes to gold, I only trust one company. I've dealt with many. That's Advantage Gold. They're a 5-star American company that I recommend to everyone. They're the experts in helping Americans protect their money with gold and silver using existing retirement savings with zero fees. So call Advantage Gold today at 800-900-8000 and they'll send you a free gold investment kit to help you get started. Tell them Mark Levin sent you to see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. Don't wait until September 18th. It's already here, folks. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit from Advantage Gold. That's 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. Always consult your financial tax professional. Now, when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, Israel is under attack on 3 sides. The other side is the Mediterranean Sea. All because of Iran. What will Kamala Harris do about this? It's a joke, right? Kamala Harris cannot stand up to these enemies, not because she's a woman, not because she's a woman of color, because she's pathetic, she's weak. She's worse than an appeaser, like her boss, Biden. They're actually funding the enemy. Now, if you want to run for president, you need to be treated, everybody does, equally. You're going to be subjected to criticism. Your background's going to be looked at. The things that you have said are going to be discussed. And if you're an incompetent moron and an ideologue to boot, you're going to be called out for it. Just like Biden was called out, just like others have been called out. If you can't take the heat, what do they say, Mr. Producer? Get out of the garage, right? Not the kitchen. Can't say that. You understand what I'm saying, America? She's a candidate for President of the United States. It's about us, not her. I'll be right back. Hi, this is Mark Levin, and I've got an urgent message that can't wait. September 18th is coming, and with it, President Trump's sentencing. We're staring down this barrel again of potential market chaos. The question isn't if there's going to be a fallout, but how much. In times of instability, many smart investors turn to gold as part of diversification. And when I think of gold, I think of Advantage Gold. These folks are true partners in helping Americans find financial stability. Advantage Gold's experts understand the connection between politics and economics, and they can navigate you through these crazy times using gold to help shield your hard-earned wealth. So call my trusted friends at Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000, 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit. If you wait until September 18th, it might be too late. 800-900-8000 for your free investment kit. Tell them Mark Levin sent you to see if you qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Performance may vary. Always consult your financial and tax professional.
Mark Levin, a proud fanatic for the Constitution. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
I think Kamala Harris's boycott of Benjamin Netanyahu, when he gave his speech to a joint meeting of Congress a short while ago, last week in fact, and then her unconscionable, immoral, contemptible comments after she met with him and he was gone, helped stoke the attacks on Israel. It's part and parcel of what this administration has done. And yes, she's the vice president. And yes, she's responsible for the Middle East blowing up as much as anybody else. And yes, she's given voice to Hamas and their statistics, and to the river to the sea Hitler Youth crowd in our streets. Yes, she has. Period. She must take responsibility for what she says and what she does. She must take responsibility for being vice president, the second most powerful person in the executive branch in the country. She can't on the one hand say she had nothing to do with any of this, and then on the other hand say, I'm a leader, look at me, I was vice president. She has stoked the fires of hell in the Middle East. She stokes racial animus in her own country. She rejects 1776. She promotes 1619. She and Biden today and their party are trying to destroy the Supreme Court because they don't like decisions that the court hands down, so they want to destroy the court. She wants to destroy the Senate. She says she would get rid of the filibuster rule. She wants to destroy the voting system, attacks the Electoral College. She wanted to get rid of fracking and fossil fuels. Now, of course, she needs Pennsylvania, which has a massive amount of oil and natural gas. And so now she's opposed to what she used to support. Is this what we're going to put up with? Is this kind of extremism, ideological stupidity that is Kamala Harris and her supporters and the media? Is this what we're going to accept? The same lies and fictions about Biden, the same entities that created that are now creating it around Kamala Harris. Why won't she make herself available to individuals who will challenge her, who will raise questions about her lies and her hypocrisies and her contradictions? Why won't she make herself available so she can defend the policies of the administration that she's in? Why won't she make herself available so she can be questioned about her positions when it comes to good and evil in Israel, in Iran? But she won't. She says she wants to debate Donald Trump. That's fine. But to the exclusion of the rest of us? To the exclusion of a real media, not a propaganda in-kind contribution media? Hezbollah is rooting for Kamala Harris. Hamas is rooting for Kamala Harris. The Houthis are rooting for Kamala Harris. Iran, the mothership, the mother blanking ship, is rooting for Kamala Harris. Russia wants Kamala Harris. China wants Kamala Harris. Cuba, Venezuela, they want Kamala Harris. North Korea, they want Kamala Harris. Why? Because she's weak. And she's an ideologue of the left. Can you imagine? If you think it's bad now, imagine putting Bernie Sanders in a dress. That's right, I said it. They call our guy Hitler. Don't say Bernie Sanders in a dress. Oh, no, no, no. Well, that's what she is. Or maybe Bernie Sanders, better yet, is Kamala Harris in a suit. Although I think she wears pantsuits. But you get the point. You get the point. Matter of fact, if I can find it, I have a piece here in which it is said that the Gazans, it's very confusing, Gazans, Palestinians, Hamasians, we don't even know what we're talking about half the time, that they want Kamala. Anybody but Trump. Gee, I wonder what that's all about. From the Jerusalem Post. Gazans are hoping Kamala Harris becomes the next president of the United States due to fears of what another 4 years with Donald Trump in the position would mean for Palestinian statehood and humanitarian aid to the enclave, according to interviews published on Saturday by Al Monitor. Everything's Al. Al Monitor, Al Jazeera, Al Franken. Harris's notable absence from Prime Minister Netanyahu's congressional address last week was interpreted by some about Gaza and the West as a political statement. See what I mean? Kamala's got our back. Shoot the missiles, boys. When meeting with Netanyahu, she had strongly advocated for an end to the war, declaring in a televised statement, "We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent." That's not what happened. Netanyahu was gone, and she said that. Get it right, Jerusalem Post, which is getting worse and worse by the day. Mohammed Abu Sharak, Yabba Dabba Doo, a displaced Palestinian from northern Gaza. They never talk about the displaced Jews from northern Israel, do they, Mr. Producer? No. Or the millions of displaced Jews and Christians from the entire Middle East. What happened to all those Christians that used to populate these countries? Where are they? Where are all the Christians that were in Bethlehem or Constantinople, which is now Istanbul? Get it? Where are they? They're gone. What happened to them? They were not welcome in their own homeland. Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus, is 80% Palestinian. Right. Netanyahu's speech was met with applause despite protests raging outside where American flags were burnt and property vandalized. And who funded them? Where's this guy, Christopher? This guy's got to go. He's such a jackass. He's such a mumbling buffoon. Akko Shar claimed, "For us, the applause sounded like bombs falling on the heads of Palestinian children." Oh, give me a break. Give me a break. Hamas has been elected. 85% of the Palestinians in Gaza still support Hamas. They support what Hamas did to the Jews on October 7th. I'm sorry. This entire area, which was not for Palestinians, was Egyptian. The Israelis captured it in the 1967 war to defend themselves. They gave it to the Palestinians in 2005. Here, take it. It's right on the Mediterranean. It's like the French Riviera right there on the Mediterranean. And look what they turned it into. A terrorist state where people starve, people are brutalized and murdered. And that's Hamas. Hamas, which still has their support. I'm sorry, the truth hurts. I didn't do the polls. I didn't do the surveys. A Palestinian organization did, and an Arab organization did. I didn't do it. It's what they found. Not me. How dare you? So what has Kamala Harris said about the attack on the Druze people who are Israelis in a town of 11,000? The Druze who have safety in Israel but not any other part of the Arab world where they would be exterminated. They were hit with a guided missile provided to Hezbollah by Iran. What did the United States do in response to that? Nothing. None of our business. Yes, it is. We paid for it. We paid for all of this. That is the Harris-Biden-Harris administration. I would love to question her about this. She needs to be questioned about it. Why are you people pouring tens of billions of dollars into Iran directly and indirectly? Why are you doing that? Look what Hezbollah did. Hezbollah is a surrogate of Iran. They were created by Iran. She didn't make a personal statement. She still has not, over the slaughter of those 12 kids and massive injuries to dozens of others. And those pictures, they were on the internet, and I posted them. You saw little kids with their limbs missing. Missing. She didn't say personally a damn thing. The statement was put out. It didn't even quote her. When's the last time she specifically by name condemned the leader of Hezbollah? Go ahead and Google it. When? When did she specifically condemn Sinwar, the leader of Hamas in Gaza? Now, they knocked off that fat slob billionaire who was stealing from his own people, did the Israelis. And I want to congratulate them. And we should be congratulating them as a nation. This piece of crap that they knocked off in Lebanon, the number 2 of Hezbollah, he was involved in the murder of 241 Marines, you might remember, in the 1980s. We had a $5 million bounty on his head. Did Kamala Harris congratulate the Israelis? No. And you know what the media say today? CNN, MSNBC, all the creeps, all the thugs in the media? Oh, this might cause escalation. Might cause escalation? Israel's been taking thousands of missiles from Hezbollah since the day after October 7th. The Houthis are firing on them. Hezbollah's firing on them. Hamas is attacking them. Iran's backing the whole damn thing. And then you have a vacuum, you see. So what happens? The terrorists step in. And they're going to keep pushing and pushing. And there's one tiny little country that's fighting back. And so there's a lot of questions to ask Kamala Harris, who's on the wrong side. But she has a Jewish husband. I said she's on the wrong side. Give a damn about her husband. He's a nebbish. Want to talk? Okay, that's Yiddish. He's a nebbish. He's even worse than that. He's a schmuck. Oh, my God. I didn't call him Hitler. Said he's a schmuck. Now, that said, I didn't call him a cat lady, did I, Mr. Producer? No, called him a schmuck. They say Hitler, I say schmuck. What's worse? Nonetheless, what has Kamala said about Iran today? What did she say today? Nothing. Nothing. Not a word. Now, Kamala, I have some questions for you. Please present yourself somewhere. I mean, we can talk about abortion, too. I know you're obsessed with abortion. We can talk about that, but I want to talk about some other things, too, if you don't mind. You were withholding, the Harris-Biden administration, 11 military systems, ammunition, so forth and so on, from the Israelis as you're funding Iran. What are you going to do about it? Oh, we don't get to ask her any questions. All right, I got another one. You support abortion, but you supported an abortion bill in the Senate that prevented parental notification all over the country, nationally, and also required the states to allow abortion right up to the moment of birth, paid for by the taxpayers. I want to ask you about that. I want to ask you if you're going to run a commercial showing us how this reproductive right, see how they steal the language? Oh, it's a reproductive right when you actually kill reproduction. But that's all right. I just want to ask you a simple question. Why don't you show us a video of this fantastic procedure you're running on all over the country? I also would ask you, you do understand after the Dobbs decision we have more abortions in this country now than we did before the Dobbs decision. You do understand that, right, Kamala? I have so many questions I want to ask her. But she won't make herself available. It's all propaganda. When we come back, you might recall Robert, what was his name, Mallory? Malley, I apologize. Robert Malley, who was the envoy chosen by the Biden-Blinken traitorship. That's right, traitors. To negotiate our deal with Iran, and that's what makes them traitors. Why? because he was a special pleader for Iran. You don't appoint an envoy who's a special pleader to a terrorist state that wants to blow us off the face of the earth and is threatening to kill former officials in the prior administration, and a little spy ring that he had under and that makes the Alger Hiss matter look like a joke. But wait a minute. Kamala has somebody who's a special pleader for Iran, too. Oh, do tell. Do tell. Well, I will. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, folks, we're living in unprecedented times. And September 18th could be a watershed moment. With President Trump's sentencing approaching, we're facing potential political upheaval, which could create some dangerous market and economic chaos. That's where gold and diversification come in. Gold has always been one of the ultimate safe havens in times of turmoil. And when it comes to gold, I only trust one company. I've dealt with many. That's Advantage Gold. They're a 5-star American company that I recommend to everyone. They're the experts in helping Americans protect their money with gold and silver using existing retirement savings with zero fees. So call Advantage Gold today at 800-900-8000 and they'll send you a free gold investment kit to help you get started. Tell them Mark Levin sent you to see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. Don't wait until September 18th. It's already here, folks. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit from Advantage Gold. That's 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. Always consult your financial tax professional. It's amazing. You watch the Democrats and the media. How do they treat conservative and Republican black women? With respect. Is that what they do? How do they treat conservative women? With respect. Is that what they do? How do they treat conservative blacks? With respect. Is that what they do? No, that's not what they do. They're bigoted, they're racist, they're biased, they're partisan, they're hateful, they're vile. Case after case after case. And they sit there and pass judgment on everybody else. My problem with Kamala Harris has nothing to do with physical features, even though she's very weird. Wouldn't you say she's weird, Mr. Producer? And Joe Biden, he's weird. You know, when they have a picture together, that's like double weird. That's right, the daily double weird, the two of them. Weird. May I say weird? Now, if I'm them, I'm busy calling people Hitler and Eva Braun and, the stuff like that. But we'll resist that, part of the resistance. But weird, yeah, they're weird. Stupid, yeah, they're stupid. Extremist, yeah, she's an extremist. And she's a liar. Just listen to her. I was against fracking. No, I never said that. I'm for fracking. Borders. No, I never borders. No. Oh, that bill. I'm all action. I'm not talk, and so forth. Now she's ducking serious people with serious questions. That's right. She's doing the rope-a-dope. Like Biden. Biden lives the rope-a-dope. He's lived the rope-a-dope for 25 years. Now she says, you know what? He can do it. I can do it. I don't have dementia, but I have this horrendous extremist record, and I give stupid responses, and I laugh a funny way, and people don't like it. And we're being, I'm recreating myself with the help of the media in America, Al Jazeera, Pravda Media, and of course my campaign and hundreds of millions of dollars. Don't believe what you heard before, saw before. No. Same tricks they use with Biden, they're using with her. When we come back, I want to further pursue what I was pursuing earlier this week. Josh Shapiro, the Democrat governor of Pennsylvania. He's Jewish. How does a Jewish politician join a Harris ticket? This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Welcome back, America. Mark Levin here. Josh Shapiro, most of you don't know anything about this guy. Even people who live in Pennsylvania know very little about him because there's little to know about him. But that said, the media tell us over and over again he's Jewish. The media also tell us if she picks Josh Shapiro could hurt him. That is, it could hurt her, I should say, with the River to the Sea crowd, which is part of the big Democrat base. On the other hand, he might help her carry Pennsylvania because he's the governor there. And, of course, it might help her, given her anti-Israel positions, and more than that, her hostility, in my view, to the Jewish people, given the fact that she praised the protests in the street. She called them protests, except the extremists. The whole damn thing was extremist. I don't know what the hell she's talking about. But that aside, if you are the Jewish Democrat governor of Pennsylvania and you see the things that she has said, you see her association with CARE, a Hamas front group, and it's not the only extremist Islamic group that she's been associated with. When you know what kind of pastor she has, that he's a hateful extremist, and that she still listens to him, when you see the things that she has said or not said, the boycotting the Prime Minister of Israel, the things that she said after she met with him, the fact that she hasn't taken a very affirmative step in condemning Hamas and the missile attack or defending Israel as of tonight. How do you say, okay, I want to be her running mate without selling your soul? The problem for Josh Shapiro is going to be if he agrees to be her running mate, if she asks, then he is completely sold out, completely 100% sold out, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that as a Jew. He gives the growing anti-Semitism within the Democrat Party. He gives the Hamas wing in the Democrat Party. He gives the Blinken ideology, the doctrine, which is no doctrine in the Middle East. He gives it cover. It gives it camouflage. It would be a disgrace. And I will point that out, and I won't be silenced about it. Period. Period. And I want to get to this interview, the National Association of Black Journalists. It's funny. Kamala Harris not only ducked Netanyahu, she ducked them. Now she says she might come back. Apparently she was supposed to be on stage with Trump, but she didn't show up. I know she went to a funeral, but that's never stopped her before. The excuse that she gave and gives are just that. Now, this is breaking news that will not be reported by the main media. Kamala Harris's national security advisor probed over ties to Iranian influence network Washington Free Beacon, Adam Credo. In a Wednesday letter to Harris, Senator Cotton and Representative Elise Stefanik launched a probe into Vice President Kamala Harris's national security advisor over his ties to an Iranian government influence network, the Washington Free Beacon has learned. They asked the presumptive Democratic nominee to provide information about her advisor, Phil Gordon. Phil Gordon is who she wants to be Secretary of State. Somebody wake up Josh Shapiro and let him know. Phil Gordon's connections to Ms. Arian Tabatabal Yabadabadu, a senior Department of Defense official who was reportedly involved in an Iranian government operation to expand Tehran's soft power in the United States, says the letter. Gordon, this Phil Gordon, the letter notes, co-authored at least 3 opinion pieces with her that argued against sanctions on the Iranian regime. She was outed last year as an alleged member of an Iranian-run influence network that reported back to Tehran's foreign ministry. She reported to the Biden envoy, Malley, who reported to Blinken, because Malley and Blinken go back as childhood friends. This spy ring, this Iranian influence peddling scheme is right in this administration, right in the middle of it. And Harris's national security advisor, who she wants to be the Secretary of State, apparently is right in the middle of it, too. Phil Gordon is his name. The letter notes co-authored at least 3 of these opinion pieces. Gordon's connections to her are fueling concerns about the 2024 election. Gordon is likely to play a central national security role in a Harris White House Secretary of State. His connections to pro-Tehran advocacy groups suggest that renewed diplomacy with Iran will be a top foreign policy priority for Harris if she's elected. Folks, this regime in Iran has threatened President Trump with assassination. They've unleashed an effort to assassinate him. And former Secretary of State Pompeo, among others. What are the standards in this regime? What are Harris's standards for having people on her staff like this? Or Biden having people on his staff like this? Ladies and gentlemen, this is new, even for the Democrat Party. Cotton and Stefanik are primarily concerned about Gordon's access to classified information. They want to know if his ties to Tehran's enablers might disqualify him from holding a top-secret security clearance. This guy, Phil Gordon, the lawmakers note, published pieces with Tabatabai, blatantly promoting the Iranian regime's perspective and interest. Now remember, she and others were involved in communicating through back channels with the foreign minister of Iran. I mean, good God. Those pieces were published after the time Tabatabai was alleged to be working for the Iran Experts Initiative, IEI, an influence network that included several American policymakers associated with the Biden administration's former Iran envoy, Robert Malley, who was indefinitely suspended from his job amid allegations he leaked classified information. But it's not a scandal. Because CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, NBC, ABC, CBS, and all the rest of them, all the rest of the Al Jazeera, Pravda media don't give an S. They could care less. And it goes on. It is a deeply troubling revelation that the Iranians have special pleaders under Biden, under Harris. Well, what's the big deal? No wonder they're relentlessly, ceaselessly attacking Israel through their surrogates. And no wonder this administration doesn't hit Iran back, even for killing 3 of our service people. No wonder. No wonder Iran thinks it can do whatever the hell it wants. It's getting billions of dollars from this regime, the Harris-Biden-Harris regime. Well, they have their foot on Israel's throat. It's quite unbelievable, America. It's actually quite disgusting. National Review has a series of very excellent columns on their site today. Charles C.W. Cook. Why I've Changed All My Policies by Kamala Harris. So he's mocking her, of course. My fellow Americans, I want to take this opportunity, and it is an opportunity to share with you why I have moved past many of the policies I have a long history of exhibiting. Now that I'm running to be president of the United States, think about that. This is a moment of extraordinary courage and leadership. And as many of you know, the voice that I am carrying and continue to carry is a voice for all of us, with all the permeations and ramifications that it brings. This is a moment for me to be truly intentional in my approach to the future and the past. We talk a lot about opportunity, but opportunities are not guaranteed until they become guarantees. And then, sad as it can be, they stop being opportunities, okay? They stop being opportunities. So I want you to imagine a Venn diagram. You know, Venn diagrams with the 3 circles. Okay, I'm in one of them. We have the words, my policies from 2019. In another, we have the words, what I actually believe. And in the third, we have the words, my personality unfiltered through the media. And if you look closely, you'll see on the Venn diagram that instead of the middle section that looks like a shield saying Kamala Harris elected president, it says disaster. So what we're trying to do and trying to do every day is to create a new Venn diagram where the upside down shield part says Kamala Harris elected president. And that's how we build the middle class and make sure that leadership from our leaders is about leading instead of not leading. So to get there, I've had to replace the my policies from 2019 circle with Donald Trump is lying about my record. to replace the what I actually believe circle with, do you know I was a prosecutor? And to replace the my personality unfiltered through the media circle with fake version of Kamala Harris invented by the media in 2024. And if we do all that, you'll see the middle bit now says Kamala Harris elected president. Got it, folks? Michael Brennan Dougherty, her manufactured stardom is the final test for liberal groupthink. Kamala Harris dropped out of the 2020 presidential primary before a single vote could be cast. She had pledged to sign the Green New Deal. She had talked up radical bail reform. She encouraged donations to a bail reform group that released violent criminals, including sex offenders, back onto the streets. She entertained the idea of restoring voting rights, even to confine terrorists. She refused to rule out packing the Supreme Court. She wanted to defund the police. She announced her pronouns. She is committed to every fashionable left-wing cause in a year of left-wing hysteria. So she was a darling of the press, which sees itself as the superintendent of the latest political trends. Voters, particularly black voters, end up picking Joe Biden in a near explicit repudiation of progressive mob politics and of craven leaders such as Harris, who are auditioning by standing in front of the law degree-holding Molotov cocktail brigades that year, that she's being foisted on Democratic voters with just 100 days to go before the election should be seen as a form of ideological punishment and discipline meted out by elite Democrats to their voters. It doesn't feel that way, only because Biden was dying on the debate stage and in the polls. But free of the Biden burden, Democrats have cut their overwhelming feeling of relief with a few choice precursor media narratives to rebrand their mood change as a form of euphoria. We love brat. We love coconuts. Kamala Harris is funny. Kamala Harris is serious about governing. And yet, for all the professed enthusiasm, the polls are roughly where they were before the debate, my point. Before Joe Biden was put in political cryogenic hibernation. Perhaps the only reason this step change works is that key Democratic constituencies are already addicted to mood-altering drugs as a means of coping with reality. Obamacare turns out not to be a health care plan, but an instrument for politically controlling the Democratic Party, dosing out whatever it takes to get the patient through the present bloody surgery. Kamala Harris is a new skin suit stretched over the unimpressive record of the Biden administration, he writes. The skin suit can talk, but it has to defend not only everything Kamala Harris said in 2020, but also everything Biden did and continues to preside over now. Whether it's an economy that has squeezed the last bit of hope of home ownership out of young millennials and Gen Zers, or the transformation of the Democratic coalition to a safe encampment for the Hamas kids at Columbia University, or a mainly unconstitutional court-packing scheme. Kamala Harris is the final test for liberal groupthink. Her sudden Taylor Swift-like stardom is as faked as intelligence agency assessments of Hunter Biden's laptop. That's the most important sentence in here. This stardom is fake. It's concocted. It's a fiction. If the Kamala Harris PSYOP proves a success this November, beware for even wider social programming experiments in the future. And then the editors of National Review. Here come the flip-flops. More accurately, here come the lies. Vice President Harris managed to become the presumptive Democrat nominee in record time after Biden was forced to drop out of the race, and now with breathless speed, she is dramatically reversing positions that she once claimed were strongly held when she last ran for president. Whether these new positions last longer than the old ones is something voters won't know until after the election. When Harris entered the Senate in 2017, it was the heyday of anti-Trump resistance on the left. With the aging socialist Senator Bernie Sanders having given eventual loser Hillary Clinton a run for her money in the prior year's primaries, there's a growing belief that the next Democratic nominee would have to appeal to this movement. As a freshman senator with presidential aspirations, with a prosecutor image that alienated some on the left, Harris wasn't going to miss a beat. In a short period of time, she racked up a voting record that ranked her as the most progressive U.S. senator, a.k.a. Marxist. Harris was one of 16 co-sponsors of Sanders' socialized health care plan, branded as Medicare for All, which would have cost $34 trillion over a decade, according to the left-wing Urban Institute. It would also have necessitated kicking about 180 million of you off their private health insurance plans. She's now, by the way, backed off on that. No way, she says. She also signed on to the Senate version of AOC's radical Green New Deal, which, of course, destroys manufacturing and industry in the United States. In 2019, as the Democrat primaries took off, there was fierce competition to the left of Joe Biden. Harris dug in to her support for banning private insurance before unconvincingly trying to take it back. She called for banning fracking and offshore drilling. She said those who cross the border illegally shouldn't be treated as criminals and called for getting rid of ICE and starting from scratch. She advocated banning AR-15s and confiscating them under the euphemism of mandatory buybacks. What were once seen as necessary stances to woo a rabid progressive base in the 2020 primaries are now general election liabilities. And so for about 100 more days, Harris wants to be unburdened by what has been. That's a great line. The New York Times reports, in addition to changing her position on fracking, campaign officials said she now backed the Biden administration budget request for increased funding for border enforcement, no longer supported a single-payer health care program, echoed Biden's call for banning assault weapons, but not a requirement to sell them to the federal government. This is an implicit acknowledgement that Biden's unpopular presidency is still less politically radioactive than Harris's even more left-wing 2019 platform. It goes on. It's a great editorial in National Review. And there's another great one in the Washington Examiner by Con Carroll. Without a primary, Kamala's flip-flops are just lies. You see, they do not want a primary. They do not want a open convention where candidates are challenging one another. They are trying to do to us what they did to us with Biden. She will only get positive coverage. She will only speak in ways and in places that they can promote and project. And they're going to try and protect her from you and me, the people. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I'm going to let you in on a little wireless trick that can cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Other major carriers want you to believe you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you'll ever need and you'll ever use. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data you actually want. Listen to this. For $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data plus mobile hotspot. Do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? You can browse the internet for 135 hours, stream 1,000 songs, or watch 10 hours of video. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless. Get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is painless. It's easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month on top of all the other savings when you sign up with Pure Talk. In Con Carroll's piece, The Washington Examiner, it says Republican attacks on Kamala Harris's radical record have already been so successful that Harris is racing to flip-flop on everything she used to say she believes. No brag, just fact. The most poignant, precise, brutal 4 minutes laying out Kamala Harris's comments and her record. We're on Life, Liberty, and Levin this weekend. Were they not, Mr. Producer? And we've posted them. And we found, actually, Mr. Producer found some of the video that had not been used elsewhere on this whole equity stuff, which is Marxism. And so, just so you know they have a problem. They're trying to superficially cover it up. They want you to be dispirited. There's no way that she can lose, and she'll pick a fantastic governor, this guy Shapiro or somebody like that. Just relax. I mean, fight, but don't get hysterical. I'm going to let you in on a little wireless trick that can cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Other major carriers want you to believe you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you'll ever need and you'll ever use. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data you actually actually want. Listen to this. For $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data plus mobile hotspot. Do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? You can browse the internet for 135 hours, stream 1,000 songs, or watch 10 hours of video. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless. Get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is painless. It's easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month on top of all the other savings when you sign up with Pure Talk.
Mark Levin, the champion of liberty and true conservatism. Call Mark now, 877-381-3811.
Donald Trump went to the National Association of Black Journalists Convention. He and Kamala Harris were invited. He said yes, she said no, because she may have gotten some tough questions. Now, that said, one of the moderators was Rachel Scott of ABC News. She was horrendous, absolutely contemptible. When Trump got there, he said, wait a minute, I thought the two of us were going to be here, meaning he and Harris. He said there was a 35-minute delay. I don't want you to go there, but this website, Mediocreite, a.k.a. Mediaite, is really a grotesque, basically political pornographic operation of never-Trumpers, of radical leftists. I began looking up some of these individuals and who they are. They are radical. One of them is written for Salon. One of them, you can go down the list, and we'll talk about them in another day. And they just pick apart the entire discussion, put it in multiple different clips. They don't actually think for themselves. Just a horrendous attack on Donald Trump. But Trump was set up by ABC News and Rachel Scott. And keep in mind, it's ABC News that will be moderating the September debate, should Donald Trump choose to use that format to debate Kamala Harris. I would encourage him, if he's going to do that, then demand that there be a Fox moderated debate. But let's take a listen at least the upfront part. Cut one, go.
I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe...
And by the way, she's talking about Tlaib and Omar and people like that who say the most horrific things about this country and about Jews and about American citizens. But, of course, she doesn't put any context in anything. Go ahead.
Attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir...
So stop. So my question is what? You just put like 10 things out there, and you expect him to respond to your rapid-fire setup? It is a grotesque performance by Rachel Scott of ABC News. Each one of those can be addressed. And, of course, she would never have said that to Joe Biden about his past, actual racism and segregation, and his policies, actual policies. She would never say this about Kamala Harris, what she has said about Israel, what she did to little kids who were molested by priests in San Francisco, which she did nothing. She would never do that. But it's Trump. And this is where the media are today. Go ahead.
We're asking black supporters to vote for you. Why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working, or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe
I have answered the question.
And I think that was a beautiful answer. I think that was a beautiful answer. And what's interesting is most of the media don't play the full answer that he gave there. Let's go to cut 2. Go.
Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire.
Let's stop a second here. I don't know if she's a DEI hire or not, but let's not pretend that the Democrats aren't promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what DEI means. It's in their executive orders. They're imposing it on government contractors. They're imposing it on the federal bureaucracy. These are millions and millions, tens of millions of people. They talk about, I'm going to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court, black woman running mate. Could be anything. Could be, I'm going to appoint the first transparent, albino. Could be, I'm going to appoint the first male this or female. That's not my point. My point is DEI. Now, how do you support DEI and the operation of DEI, which is all about appointments, which is all about using diversity, equity, and inclusion above all other things, including merit? Harvard was doing that against these Asian students. The Supreme Court said you couldn't. Biden and Harris condemned the Supreme Court that said you cannot treat Asian Americans that way or anybody else. It's got to be based more on merit. So they attacked the court. That's one of the things they attacked the court on. We've got policies in place that are pushing DEI in terms of farmers in this country. Who gets more support than somebody else depends on it. You heard me play the long equity videotape on this program, as well as on Blaze and as on Fox, my Fox show, where she made the point about equity. We all have to end up at the same place. So when somebody mentions it, I don't think it's the smartest approach to defeating her, but when somebody mentions it, because the media are not going to allow you to discuss it the way I'm discussing it. They're not going to permit it. You're going to be immediately a racist. The schizophrenia behind this is amazing to me. The very people that demand it, now say if you notice it and you mention it and you raise a question about this person or that person, then you're anti this or you're anti that. You're not even allowed to notice what's being done. Now, the reason Kamala Harris was picked wasn't because Joe Biden liked her. Joe Biden couldn't stand her. Used the F word against her, apparently, after that debate in which Kamala Harris ripped Biden a new one. He picked her because, not because she's the most substantive person, not because she's the most accomplished person, but because of her. And Biden said he would appoint the first female black to the Supreme Court. These are their words. These are their policies. Now, by the way, that doesn't mean that in doing so, these people aren't brilliant, whoever these people are, meritorious. But I'm just saying they create this environment. They create these ideas. They create these policies, this mindset. And when people say it, and perhaps misapply it, but when people say it, there's something wrong with them. Now, you just can't have it both ways. People aren't going to abide by that. In any event, I'm just making the point, and I'm not defending anybody or anybody who uses it. I'm just making the point that that's why this comes up. I happen to think there's better reasons and more forceful reasons to defeat Kamala Harris relating to substance. And that's where I'm going to stick. You don't hear me saying she's a DEI appointment or vice president, whatever it is. Substantively, she's a disaster. Substantively, she's a disaster. Let's go to cut 3. But you can see this Rachel Scott is a very nasty, bomb-throwing leftist who's there not to ask questions and gather information. She's there to draw attention to herself, to get a pat on the back, and to prove that she can rip Donald Trump to shreds. That's her goal. That's not what journalists are supposed to do. I would say this about her. She is illustrative. She's indicative of modern-day journalists who are not journalists. They're advocates. They're propagandists. So in this, you should listen to her because she demonstrates what's wrong with the media today. She's certainly not alone. Cut 3, go.
You've called yourself the candidate of law and order.
Yeah.
When Time magazine asked you if you would consider pardoning all the rioters, you said, yes, absolutely.
Sure.
You called them patriots. 140 police officers were assaulted that day.
All right, that's enough. We know all this. He's never said you should pardon people who assaulted police officers. The overwhelming majority of people who are serving time in jail, who are pled out, did not assault police officers. They went into the building. Or they were close to the building. And a reporter should know that. She knows it, but that's not what she reports. She's going right down the talking points of the Democrat Party and the Kamala Harris campaign. That's exactly what she's doing. And she's supposed to be a reporter. That's the problem. Not DEI, not the... She's the problem. The way she's conducted herself here. And a complete setup. A complete 100% setup. But it also demonstrates Trump will go anywhere. He's ubiquitous. He's available. Even though he knows there's these setups, there's these attacks, that 98% of the media are Democrats and they're with Harris as they were with Biden and so forth and so on. She won't go to places that may challenge her. She won't even go to places that may not challenge her. This is totally scripted. Totally scripted. They didn't want Biden going out there because you'd notice he had dementia, even though we all noticed it anyway. They don't want her going out there because she's a liar. She's either lying now or lied before. Flip-flop is a nice way to put it. And because she's just not that smart. Not because of her race, because of her. She's just not that smart. Thomas Sowell is a genius. Clarence Thomas is a genius. I can go through a whole host of people who are geniuses, who are not white. She's not one of them. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I'm going to let you in on a little wireless trick that can cut your cell phone bill in half every single month. Other major carriers want you to believe you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you'll ever need and you'll ever use. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, only charges you for data you actually want. Listen to this. For $25 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data plus mobile hotspot. Do you know what you can do with 5 gigs of data? You can browse the internet for 135 hours, stream 1,000 songs, or watch 10 hours of video Folks, stop overpaying for wireless. Get 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is painless. It's easy. There's no contract, no activation fee. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month on top of all the other savings when you sign up with Pure Talk.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
This is America's border czar, and she's failed us. Under Harris, over 10 million illegally here. 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl. Brutal migrant crimes. And ISIS now here.
Do you have any plans to visit the border? You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making.
Kamala Harris failed. Weak, dangerously liberal.
Amen. But she wasn't the border czar. Oh, right. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. That she'll secure the border because Trump did. Oh, right. I made a mistake, yes. We have bipartisan, bisexual border reform here, Mr. Producer. Oh, yeah, that's right. Excuse me. By the way, where is Biden today? Have they locked him in the closet somewhere, Mr. Producer? Yes. He's in the closet. No, he's not coming out of the closet. Well, America, I've only just begun. The Power Hour's next. I shall return.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Voters on Newsmax. They asked them, can you name some accomplishments that Kamala Harris has had as Vice President of the United States? Cut 6, go.
Can you name a few of her accomplishments?
No, I can't.
What are some of her accomplishments?
Silent.
I will say that everything that I've seen, I don't think that. No.
I honestly don't think she has any. The 4 years that she was in office as vice president, I didn't hear her speak once until last week. So that's kind of my take on it.
So the media are trying to create Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is all in on trying to create Kamala Harris. The campaign is trying to create Kamala Harris. And I'm going to talk about this at some length on my Fox programs. I haven't done it yet, but I'm just thinking it through as I sit here with you. And it needs to be addressed in a very aggressive way, and I'm going to address it in a very aggressive way. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do something that will not be done anywhere else. World War III is starting to break out in the Middle East. The United States has taken the position under Biden and Harris that diplomacy is the answer. When Iran has spent every minute of every day since the Islamo-Nazis took over killing people, including Americans, including other Muslims, and of course, including Jews, Israelis. And so diplomacy, you see, diplomacy with terrorists, that's the doctrine of this administration. Benjamin Netanyahu today addressed what's taking place in his country, what's being done to his country. And I want you to listen to this, because this is the anti-Kamala Harris speech. That is, not against Kamala Harris, but it's a speech that a Kamala Harris could never give or even think about. So in that sense, it's the anti-Kamala Harris. Just listen to how statesmanlike and important this is, what a leader is, via a translator. Cut 16, go.
Since the beginning of the war, I have made it clear that we are in a struggle in battle against the Iranian axis of evil. This is an existence war with a stronghold of foreign militaries and missiles that they wish to strangle us with. In my speech in Congress a few days ago, I mentioned three main tentacles of this axis of evil: Hamas, Houthis, and Hezbollah, the three H's. Over the past few days, we have given a very strong blow to two of them. 3 weeks ago, we attacked the Chief of General Staff of Hamas, Mohammed Deif, and then 2 weeks ago, we had an Air Force strike in Yemen, which is a very far target. And yesterday we targeted Fouad Shukr, the General Staff of the Military Chief of General Staff of Hamas. I'd like to thank the IDF, the Shin Bet, the Intel Directorate, and the Air Force, and all security branches on very precise execution.
Let me stop it right here for a moment. The Israeli intelligence was really quite extraordinary. But, and in addition to, this suggests, and I'm not the first one to say this, that people in Iran, the opposition, likely provided assistance to Israel. There is a strong opposition in that country, but they have to hide very much underground. The people there hate that government. They want to overthrow that government. Their daughters have been raped and tortured. Many of the people in Iran share Western values, but this ideology is being imposed on them. They rose up when Obama was president. He did nothing to help them. They rose up to some extent significantly when Biden was president, when that young girl was murdered, tortured and murdered because she wouldn't cover her head. Biden did nothing to lift his finger then either, because we have this whole spying, this whole special pleader operation going on in our own country at the highest ranks of this administration. And that includes not just Biden, but Harris, her national security advisor, who's now being investigated by members of Congress. That's what we're confronting. Go ahead.
Muhsan was the person directly in charge of the massacre of our children in Majd al-Shams. He was responsible for the murder of many other Israelis. He was responsible for the incessant attack on our people in the north over the past 9 months of war. He was one of the most wanted terrorists in the world. There was a prize by the U.S. for $5 million.
So why isn't the United States thanking Israel? I'm quite serious about it. Why isn't Kamala Harris, she's running for president, saying, look, I want to thank the Israelis? Why not? Go ahead.
He was involved in the murder of 241 American soldiers and 58 French soldiers in Beirut in '83. He was a main element in the connection between Iran and Hezbollah. He was in charge of the entire missile operations of Hezbollah. A few days ago, as I visited that terrible site of massacre in Majd al-Shams, I saw the terrible sorrow and grief of the families. And I said to the Druze, we are brothers and sisters. We have a bond of life, and this bond becomes even stronger in such days of grief. And the murder, the massacre of these innocent children is added to the incessant suffering of the people living in the north of Israel who have been sent to exile from their home. And we will not remain silent over that. We settled the score with Mohsen, and we will settle the score with anyone else who massacres our children, murders our citizens. Anybody who harms our country will die, will be killed. The citizens of Israel, we are facing some challenging days. Since the strike in Beirut, we've been hearing threats from various directions. We are ready for any scenario, and we will stand together, determined to face any threat. Israel will exert a very heavy price for any aggression against us from any arena. Citizens of Israel, already back in the first days of the war, I said that it will take some time and it will require patience from all of us. And I repeat that today as well. For months now, Every week, people tell me, both in and outside of Israel, finish the war, because we've exhausted whatever we can achieve, and it's impossible to win the war. But I did not give in to these voices then, and I do not give in to them today as well. Had we given in to these pressures, we would not have killed the heads of Hamas and thousands of terrorists. We wouldn't have destroyed the terrorist infrastructure and the underground infrastructure of Hamas. We wouldn't have taken over the Philadelphia corridor and the Rafah crossing, which is the conduit of oxygen for Hamas, allowing them to recover. And we wouldn't have come closer to conditions that can bring back both the hostages and make it possible to achieve all the goals of the war, to bring back all the hostages, to eliminate both the government and military capacities of Hamas, and make sure that Gaza no longer poses a threat.
Right. Now we have Anthony Blinken. He's at the University of Singapore today. Does he ever spend time in the United States, Mr. Producer? Takes junket after junket. And nobody likes him coming out. God, here comes that dumb bastard. He's going to blow up our region as well. Now, this is on the killing of the Hamas leader. Now, this so-called Hamas leader has been living in luxury in the finest hotel in Qatar, because Qatar is a terrorist state. They're our enemy. They've been funding the Hitler Youth in our country, among other things, as have others. They've made nice with the Iranians. They've been funding Hamas, and as I said, they've been protecting the multi-billionaires who are the supposed leaders of Hamas. Now, Israel had an opportunity to take out one of these fat slobs, and that's exactly what they did in Tehran. And what does Blinken say in response? Does he say good job? Does he say one less evil mass murder to deal with? Does he say any of that? No. He doesn't. In fact, he speaks in a way that will encourage Iran to go on the offensive. He doesn't warn Iran, don't you lift a finger, or we'll be there with our ally and we'll take care of business. The way Reagan did, the way Trump did. No. So what did Anthony Blinken say? Cut 17, go.
I'm not going to speculate on what impact any one event might have on that. I've learned over many years never to really speculate about that, because we simply don't know. What I do know is the enduring imperative of getting the ceasefire, and what I do know is we'll continue to work at that every day.
Ceasefire with whom? What's he talking about, Rich? A ceasefire with whom? Hezbollah is firing thousands of rockets in Israel. Israel's had to depopulate the north. Hamas was firing missiles into Israel and slaughtered its people. And there's still a war going on there. The Houthis have fired missiles at Israel. Iran's the only one that goes untouched. And he wants a ceasefire? We got to broom these dummies out of office as soon as possible, ladies and gentlemen, and not replace them with more dummies who are even worse. The answer should have been, look, let me be clear. We're going to do everything we can with respect to Iran. Everything we can. Matter of fact, I think I have Lindsey Graham here somewhere. Is he in the audio, Mr. Producer? He's not in the audio. Okay, well, we have a statement from him that I'll read when we return. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
There's literally no message, no signal sent to the Iranians to back off and back down. It's all diplomacy. It's all money. I mean, they're our enemy, ladies and gentlemen. They're helping to support China and Russia, North Korea. They're in our own hemisphere. They're plotting to assassinate President Trump. They're plotting to assassinate Secretary Pompeo, among others. And we're going to have diplomacy. This is from the Jerusalem Post, which is getting worse and worse as a newspaper, like most, moving harder and harder to the left, and any escalation by Hezbollah against Israel that leads to a major confrontation should be viewed as an attack carried out and executed by Iran, according to a resolution South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham introduced today. It would authorize the use of military force by the United States to stop an Iranian nuclear breakout. This is to address those who say that you can't actually take military action without congressional support. Of course, that's not what the Constitution says. It's actually a very ambiguous area. Those of us who are real constitutionalists understand that. So you look at tradition, you look at the practices, you look at what's reasonable. You try and discern what the framers would have had in mind. According to Graham, the resolution will be triggered if the president determines that Iran possesses uranium enriched to the weapons grade level of a nuclear warhead and possesses a delivery vehicle. This is very good and very important. This is very good and very important. Iran is going to have a nuclear weapon. Israel might take action on its own to eliminate it. That is, any nuclear facility related to that. And the concern is that this administration will not back Israel. So you'll have that, plus you'll have the radical libertarians saying they're not authorized. So what Graham is saying is, number one, we must back them if they do that. And number two, we must authorize military force by the United States. And we ought to do it in advance because they're getting a damn nuclear weapon. That's not a hawk. That's not a warmonger. That's a peacenik. That's somebody who's concerned that these weapons will be used against us. And why wouldn't they? Iran will keep going until somebody tells them to stop, Graham told reporters during a news conference. It is time to put red lines on their nuclear program. Graham said he believes it is a certainty that if the U.S. doesn't change course, Iran will possess a nuclear weapon within weeks or months. He called the Director of National Intelligence report on the status of Iran's nuclear program unnerving. Their ability to enrich to weapons grade is now a matter of weeks, not months. That's according to our intelligence services. Their ability to weaponize the material has advanced, and it is now time for Congress to lend their voice to the proper response. Not only should Israel hold Iran accountable for any escalation by Hezbollah, but the United States should do the same, according to Graham, with vital facilities like oil refineries on the target list. It's time to hit the Ayatollah in the pocketbook. And you might say, what a warmonger. That's what Reagan did. Trump took out Soleimani. What has Biden done? And this is how you get wars and world wars. Israel's not the bad guy here, Graham said, adding it's time to hold an Iran accountable for their proxies. Hezbollah was the agent of the attack on October 7th. The slaughtering of 1,200 Jews was done by the Iranians to Hamas. So our friends in Israel, if you're hit by Hezbollah, strike hard, strike lethal, strike Iran on the target list. But they're withholding weapons from Israel. They're withholding weapons. Why am I saying this, Graham said? Because I think if we don't do something decisive now, it's only going to get worse and quick. I believe that we're on the verge of a major conflict over the Iran nuclear program. Folks, he's right. He's 100% right on this. He says it's time to reset. You hear Graham, you hear Tom Cotton, you hear Cruz, you hear a handful of others, just a handful, who are shooting up the warning flares. Shooting up. These guys, in this respect, they echo the voice of a Winston Churchill, who kept warning a nation that didn't want to know, that didn't want to believe, that didn't want to get involved, that the enemy is there, the enemy is building, and the enemy is going to target us. It's a big problem. And it's a big problem right here. Because it's true. In this administration, when they say, I don't know what the response is going to be, I just don't know, and so forth, this is an administration that's out of control. When it takes action, it takes the wrong action. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin, the great one.
The great one, Mark Levin.
Dial in now, 877-381-3811.
George Soros, really Alex Soros, his even more radical son, they're in the radio business. They've been buying up radio companies that are hurting, that are broke, buying their radio stations. One such purchase is going through the FCC, I think, next week. And will affect us potentially on 5 of our affiliates, Mr. Producer. One of which is a significant affiliate. I just want you to know, it won't just be me, it would be other conservatives too. So we'll see how that goes. We at least know on one. We know how it's gone. So that effort is underway to silence this program. But we won't be silenced. By any company, by any ideologue, by anybody. Period. This is why I tell you. You need to download the app to this program, to my podcast. Go to marklevinshow.com, marklevinshow.com, M-A-R-K-L-E-V-I-N show.com. Click on Audio Rewind and select your favorite platform, or search Mark Levin Show on your favorite podcast platform. We also have our own YouTube channel. You can now find all my podcasts, interviews, specials on YouTube. YouTube.com at Mark Levin Show. Go to YouTube.com at Mark Levin Show, or just search Mark Levin Show on YouTube. And if you're ever in doubt, you can't remember, you didn't write something down, go to marklevinshow.com. That's the mothership. That's the main website. It'll take you to everything and everywhere. marklevinshow.com. It's that simple. But I want to strongly encourage you, to go ahead and download it. You never know. Our podcast is growing hugely. But we're sticking by the affiliates that stick by us, period. We also have a presence, a good, strong presence on satellite radio, Sirius Satellite. We want to thank those folks as well. So there's many ways to find this program and to retain this relationship that we've had for decades. But I just wanted you to be aware of it. Wait a minute. What did I do with that? Hold on, America. Don't go anywhere. I'm here. Oh. So the Telegraph, which is a radical left-wing, well, it never used to be. It was actually founded by Conrad Black conservatives, so maybe it's not as radical left-wing. But it seemed to be heading in that direction. Joe Biden has taken a swipe at Barack Obama's administration after he stepped out of the race to become the Democrats' presidential nominee. Wow, what happened, Tony Diver, the reporter? He referred to an incident in 2012 when he appeared to have forced Obama to change his stance on same-sex marriage. We know that's true, by the way. Obama was opposed to same-sex marriage. Imagine that, America. Biden was asked by reporters outside the White House about his legacy for LGBTQ Americans, quote-unquote. Why don't they ask him about his legacy for destroying Title IX of the 1972 Education Act, which is effectively an amendment of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. He says, well, I'm really proud of my position. I was the first guy to come out for gay marriage. Remember that little problem with the Obama administration? Ooh. In 2012, then Vice President Biden announced on TV he supported same-sex marriage before Obama had committed to the policy in public. I'm absolutely comfortable with the fact that men marrying men and women marrying women and heterosexual men and women marrying men and women are entitled to the same exact rights, all the civil liberties, he told NBC's Meet the Press. Quite frankly, I don't see much of a distinction beyond that. So the abrupt change in the stance from Mr. Biden effectively forced Obama to announce 3 days later that he also supported gay marriage. The decision by Biden to reference an incident from 12 years ago suggests tension remains between the two men. Well, of course. Obama didn't back him in 2016, even though he'd been his vice president. Obama didn't back him this time around. He was one of those who stabbed him in the back. Obama was reported to express concerns, more than that, about Biden's ability to get reelected, more than that. Look, I don't care, frankly. It's the Democrats slaughtering the Democrats. The more they destroy themselves politically, the better off the country is. John McLaughlin and Jim McLaughlin are top-line pollsters. And you know I'm not a pollster guy, but that said, I just want to give you some information because you're being inundated with, I think, a lot of material information that is intended to dispirit you. Just stay strong and stay active. That's the bottom line. And they write, following Harris's week of honeymoon media coverage, our latest polls show she has failed to move the needle. Now, this isn't the first one to show that. She just is not moving the needle that much. A little bit here and there. Maybe it'll be a little more after the convention, assuming the convention isn't, a disaster. And the governor of Illinois is trying to do everything he can to make sure it's not. They're moving all the homeless people out. Did you see that, Mr. Producer? They're creating a Potemkin city. So now they want law enforcement. Now they want all the homeless off the streets. Screw the citizens who have to live with it every day. Biden's coming to town. Even more than that, Harris is coming to town. They're moving all the illegal immigrants out of the hotels and everything. Well, where else are the delegates going to stay? The new national survey ending July 29 shows former President Trump leading Harris 47 to 45%, as historic number of Americans say the nation's on the wrong track. That's the focus. Keep hammering that. The poll shows Trump is up 2%, just as he was in our national poll detailing the Trump versus Biden race, writes McLaughlin. In that June 26 poll, Trump led Biden by 46 to 44. Since then, much happened in this unprecedented election. And they say, let's recap. June 27, Trump so soundly defeated Biden in the earliest presidential general election debate. The liberal media and Democrat Party bosses began the drumbeat to move him off the stage. That is, Biden. July 13, an assassin's bullet misses its mark by less than an inch, and President Trump miraculously survives. July 15 to 19, Trump unites the GOP in a well-watched and seamlessly successful RNC convention. July 21, after unrelenting pressure from Democrat Party bosses and the media, as well as Obama acolytes, Joe Biden withdraws from the campaign, handpicks Kamala Harris to replace him. That's how we do things. That's how communist regimes work. China, fascist regimes, Russia, Islamic regimes. That's how they work. I handpick you. Now, after a week of the media reinventing Kamala, we're back to square one. Trump still leads, they write. On June 26, we had Trump leading Harris 47 to 42. Harris has merely moved the Biden vote into her column. That's all she's done. There's some differences in different voter segments in the two-way ballot, from Trump versus Biden in June to Trump versus Harris in July. Here are some. Among African Americans, Trump received 28% to Biden 68%. Among African Americans now, Trump at 18%, Harris at 74%. If Trump gets 18% of the black vote, he wins, by the way. Among Hispanics, Trump received 42% to Biden's 45%. Among Latinos, it's now Trump 37% to Harris's 53%. Among white voters, Trump was leading 51% to Biden's 40%. It's now Trump 56% to Harris's 38%. Among married voters, Trump was leading 52% to Biden's 38%. It's now Trump 56% to 37% among married voters. And among rural voters, Trump's lead over Biden has increased from 14%, going from 52% to 38%, to now Trump up 29%, with Trump at 62% and Harris at 33%. And with Robert Kennedy Jr. and others on the ballot, it's Trump 42%, Harris 41%, Kennedy 8%. You know, I was told by Senator Cruz, and he's right, that when we say that, we want Kennedy in there to take votes from Trump, what happens is more and more Democrats show up, and on the down ballot races, they vote Democrat, even if they weren't planning before on voting on Biden or Harris. And so that hurts the Senate and the House races. It's a very important and interesting point. Harris appears to have taken Democrats back from Kennedy. However, the majority of all voters believe Trump will win. 39% believe that. The biggest positive change for Harris is that her net favorability increased by 8% because she's lying now. She's lying and ducking. She's rope-a-doping. Last month, Harris had a favorable to unfavorable of 40 to 54%. That's minus 14%. Now she has an 8% positive favorability increased. Now her favorable to unfavorable rating has improved to 45-51 for a minus 6. So it's an increase of 8%, but she's still at minus 6. Still, 75% of the country says we're on the wrong track. Only 18% say it's the right direction. And that's because of her and Biden and the others, and they need to wrap that around them. It's an all-time high wrong track in our national polling. Among the undecided presidential voters, 79% say we're on the wrong track. And after his withdrawal, Joe Biden's job approval got worse, going in June from 41% to 38%. And among the undecided presidential voters, 68% disapprove of Biden's job. And they point out, no wonder Harris is trying to rewrite her role as vice president, where she was a cheerleader for Biden's failed policies. Economic issues remain at the top of all the concerns, 45%, specifically 29% on inflation. 22% social issues, specifically abortion, is only 66%. 17% security issues, specifically the border. Most voters, 64 to 29%, say the economy is getting worse. 84% have been negatively impacted by inflation, including 50% are struggling to afford basic necessities. And Republicans maintain a lead in the generic ballot for Congress over the Democrats, 46 to 44%. That's close. And with less than 100 days to go, it seems that not much has changed. Not much has changed, they say. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
And then, of course, we need to rebuild Joe Biden as one of the great heroes and patriots in American history. Now, they didn't say that 2.5 weeks ago, but now they can. Again, we're rewriting his history. We're rewriting Kamala Harris' history. That is Harris, and we're rewriting American history. Let's just keep rewriting it. Here's Hakeem Jeffries on the Morning Schmo Show. Cut 15, go.
Well, first of all, President Biden is a heroic American, patriotic American, great American, made a selfless decision to pass the torch.
No, he didn't make a selfless decision. He was forced out. You guys led a coup. Gosh, the lying is just unrelenting. Go ahead.
Vice President Harris, who's ready, she's willing, she's able to lead us forward.
She's ready, willing, and able. You won't even have a convention to debate who your next nominee should be. This is a coronation. She's ready, willing, and able. Based on what? On the one hand, she's arguing she's not responsible for anything that's going on. On the other hand, she's arguing she was the last the president took advice from in every meeting. He wanted to know where Kamala stood. Go ahead.
And she's drawing a great contrast between our ideas. We want to move America forward in an enlightened way.
Oh, okay, that's your idea. Move America forward in an enlightened way. I don't even know what that means, coming from a Marxist. We want to move America forward in an enlightened way. By what? Destroying the Supreme Court of the United States? By what? Destroying our border and sovereignty? Open borders for anybody who wants to come in? By what? As Kamala said, giving them health care? Can you imagine what will happen to our health care system if everybody who comes in gets health care right off the bat? And by the way, there'll be more coming in because Kamala Harris does believe in an open border, regardless of what she says. And she was the border czar, regardless of what she says. Go ahead. We'll continue tomorrow. Enough is enough. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, our brothers and sisters in Ukraine. Now, Israel, we know you're up against it. 85% of the American people support you, despite Biden and Harris and the other reprobates. God bless each and every one of you American citizens, and I'll see you tomorrow.